everyone. Welcome to the Lipedema Patient Roundtable sponsored by Lympha Press. I am Brenda Viola, honored to be your host, hopefully with the most tonight. And we have some amazing regular panelists and a special guest, Paula Donahue, who has so many letters after her name. We could say Dr. Paula Donahue. She's got her MBA, her CLT-LANA. She is a physical therapist as well, and one of the authors of the Standard of Care for Lipedema in the United States. Hello, Paula, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're so glad. We know that if you have questions out there in the audience from a medical perspective, Paula would be so happy to answer. Our dear friend Linda Ann Kahn is not with us tonight, but she is doing an amazing webinar tomorrow morning. And if you haven't registered, I am going to put in chat the link tree for Lympha Press. You can sign up for her webinar. I also am doing one myself. The message I did at FDRS on July 20th, I'm going to do that. And I'd love for you all to attend. It's not going to be focused on lipedema per se, but the topic is settling your self-worth. And don't we all need a good dose of that? In fact, I needed a good dose of that today myself. Anyhow, our amazing panelists are here and we have people chatting with us. Nita Cluis saying happy 3 years. Angie Hampton's out there. Sue Kaminsky, Hiba Hamadi. Hello, hello, hello. Keep chatting. We know chat is fire. We love to hear from all of you, and you can put your questions in the Q&A. So many different things going on. Okay, Susie Boshoff, lipedema living. You had surgery.
Yes, I did. So I had surgery. This was actually amazing. So, okay, I do want to say something really quick as far as expectation in surgery, because I feel like within this community, it can get a little bit frictiony or a little weird, or, oh, this surgeon's better than that surgeon. And, oh, I like this guy. And, oh, I like that guy. I want to say that I researched who I decided to go through extensively. I did 5 different consultations, narrowing down the technique that I felt would get to the bottom of what I needed. When I did my first surgeries in Germany, for those of you who followed my journey, 9 years ago, I had a very competent, amazing surgeon, but I am super noduly, and I mean like intensely noduly. And I had a huge nodule behind one of my knees that he tried to remove with the cannula or break it up, because obviously you can't remove it, and it was impossible. So over the years, I've gotten more and more nodules. Some of them I can feel are pretty big, and I also have Derkums on lipomas in my rib area, whatnot. So I chose Dr. Jamie Schwartz, and specifically because he removes the nodules, and he also is super personable and lovely. So this was a big decision for me because I was getting very immobile. This last surgery, okay, I don't want to gross anybody out, but I'm just going to say it.
Let's be real. We always expect you to be real. Say it, sister.
So he was so excited, like a nerdy little scientist kid in a candy store, to go over my results, because he was like, okay, I've been doing this for many years and I've never seen anything like this, so I can't wait to show you, which is a little scary when you're talking about surgery. And so he removed a mass of nodules from behind my right knee, the size of my fist. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. He let me hold them, not in my hands because ew, but they fit in 2 jars. And my husband and I were both like horrified, astounded, and amazed. But what he was amazed by wasn't the size of the nodules, because if you follow his account, you'll see that he's removed some pretty scary looking nodules from people's bodies, right? But in my case, when he made the incision behind my knee, there was 0 blood. Like, it didn't bleed. There was nothing but this massive nodules. For those of you who are Star Wars fans, you'll probably never watch The Empire Strikes Back again with a straight face, but it reminded me of Luke being out there in the middle of the frozen tundra and using the lightsaber to cut open the...
Wow, what an analogy. But I have to ask you, having that removed, what's been your quality of life experience afterward?
So my legs are way better. I'm obviously still healing. And to be honest with you, it was like 100 degrees the day before yesterday, or 91 here in Florida. And I'm in head to toe compression. So this is lovely for exercise. Anyway, and I'm not allowed in the pool yet. So there's that. But I will say that my pain level has been amazing. Like, I've had to do a lot of things, and I've found that I've been able to do that. I'm excited about my knee, the back of my knee. It's definitely healing.
Mhm.
It is a bigger incision, but like, I didn't realize how much I played with the back of my knees because there were so many nodules. It's just one of those, same thing with my arms. Like, I'll sit like this and I'm like constantly doing this, like playing with the nodules, and they're all gone, and they're all gone, and they're all gone. And there were also tons of nodules in the back of my arms, but that was much bloodier. So I didn't share that on social media, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I have to say, even your energy, you can feel it and sense it, which is wonderful. And of course, your smile is always wonderful, Susie Boshoff. You know, we're doing a little memory lane tonight because this is the 3rd anniversary. 3 years we've been doing the Lipedema Patient Roundtable. It started out with all of us wondering, what is this going to be? And I remember after the first one saying to our original panelists, you want to do it again next month? Because we weren't sure if there was going to be momentum and interest. And here it is 3 years later. And here you all are, and all you wonderful people out there from all over the world that log on really and watch the replays. You might be wondering, Brenda, why are you wearing a t-shirt and pearls? And I'm going to throw to Patty Cornute, who can explain my attire tonight.
Well, it's Lipedema Awareness Month, as everybody knows, and I like to get creative with how I spread awareness. And I like to try to find a way so that people who don't have lipedema or aren't in our communities can understand what we're talking about. And so the standard of care for lipedema is a great resource to pull from. And one of the very first things it talks about is how you can have nodules under the skin that can feel like rice or pearls. And so my brain went to, we should wear pearl necklaces and have a whole campaign, and everybody started wearing pearls, and it's been so much fun and so nice to see people. And pearl is June's, you know, that's my birthstone because I'm a June baby, and it's lipedema awareness. So it was perfect.
It really is perfect. And so many are wearing their Lipedema Fitness Triathlon t-shirts, if you can represent.
Whoop, whoop.
I didn't have one of those, so I'm wearing my San Diego Padres shirt, which means I'm an official Californian now. Finally, right? That feels right. We want to remind you that if you just chat to the panelists, we just get to see you. But if you chat with everyone, everybody gets to join the party tonight. And I want you to drop in chat, what is one of your favorite roundtable memories from the last 3 years? We've had some fun adventures. We've worn costumes. We have had special guest stars. We have dropped salty language, and we've shared heartbreaks and successes and celebrations. Yeah, Halloween always rocks at the round table. Hey, Jenny, you had a question from Lipedema and Food Sensitivities. One of your members had a question for our medical professionals. So would you mind sharing that so Paula Donahue can answer?
Absolutely. So in the lipedema and food sensitivities, I always ask if people have questions, especially if they can't be here. And so this question came in about active massage compression garments, like the ones you can get off the cuff from like Bioflect and Cazalia and Solidia, I think. They claim to stimulate lymph movement through their active massage, but they don't feel compressive enough to her. I get the idea that they don't need to be because they're doing their active massage thing, but is that just hype, she asks. And she wants to know if they're going to be helpful to her if she wears them while she's doing her sedentary office job.
Great question. And I'm going to address it, but what I'm going to ask of your person listening to this, like I'm going to ask of everyone in the audience too, is to take into account what they pull from what I'm about to say, because everybody's an individual, and that's how we have to actually address compression. And so what works for some doesn't work for
Mhm.
others. And so we just have to try to bring it in. And since sadly we can't have her dialogue in about it specifically, I'll just ask her that and everybody else. So micro massage, or what some kind of reference as contoured material, I thought when it first came out on the market, or it came across my plate, I thought this was banana and never going to work. And it was coming across from a lymphedema standpoint. And I pulled it up and I was like, this is way too stretchy. There's no way this is going to do anything except do its magical micro massage as you move. Well, moving forward and with patients, yes, for some patients, it is impressively effective. And I've learned through my patients over the years, lipedema and lymphedema both, how some patients do extremely well with that type of material. Yes, the stretch to it is much more, and depending upon the garments that you pick up, they're going to be below medical grade, which no problem to it. It has a little bit of compression. Some of them, like the Solidea, will have a 20 to 30 millimeters of mercury. But there's two things about compression garments. One is what they say when the garment is newly washed and new, what that compression is, but then also the fabric itself has a level of stiffness that also helps with containment. And in this type of garment, again, it's real stretchy. So that's why I was figuring, oh, that's just not going to work for most. But the counter to it is that it really does gently adhere to the skin and leaves that indentation so that when a patient moves, it does stretch the skin as it's touching. It probably is more effective when there's less fibrosis, but everybody on this call, please hold that with an open hand, because I'm not aware of any specific study. It's just what I'm kind of getting at is when skin is softer and you have something that's light like that. Sorry, I don't know if I'm getting blurry there. And then it's easy to stretch with simple movement. When we have harder, more fibrotic tissue in more advanced stages of lymphedema, let's say, that micro massage may not be as effective, because that skin's not going to get that same kind of stretch with that light little motion and movement. So with that said, what we generally recommend when people are looking at, does this compression work for me or not, is one, is it containing the full area that a person needs contained? And then if it is, great, meaning by the end of the day, you don't want to be swelling more. Ideally, whatever you put on, when you put it on, your body will be able to stay that way and not necessarily swell. There might be a little bit, and I'll come back to that, but the ideal is to contain it. And many people, especially in the lipedema world, they do very, very well with this micro massage, to the point that other companies might start to make more garments, and there might be more of these on the market and more options, and certainly more colors, which would be fun too. Although I have a couple of my patients, one in particular, she's been showing me her Solideas, and she has been dyeing them in the washing machine, and her colors are beautiful. She's been making it with a purple dress and a red dress, and she's got this fantastic colors. Because I kept asking, I'm like, are those colors out on the market? And she's like, no, I'm just making them. So anyway.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I really think a lot of people think for compression to work, it has to be tight. And when I first started using compression about 4 years ago now, my fitter was like, no, we're going to give you custom lower legs. But you know what? Try some of these active micro massage, because the only good compression is going to be compression you wear. And I think regular compression is going to be too hard to put on and off, and you're going to give up. And I got to say, 4 years later, every day I wear that combo on the hot days, on the cold days. It makes such a difference, I think. You know,
you bring up an excellent point, because that's also it is if I clinically feel that containment needs to be 30 to 40, let's say, millimeters of mercury. Many patients can't put that on. And so it gets back to something is better than nothing at all. And that's where a lot of my patients who have explored the micro massage, they put it on because it's the easier one. It's the stretchier one. When moving straight, because this is all mostly about like with lipedema awareness, it is this type of material is very effective in being off the shelf and not needing to get expensive garments that are custom designed, and can be very effective for people to be able to go around the contours of them and allow for easier, freer movement. The goal is not always just people, compression is really used for comfort and to help if there's swelling that's occurring. Those are the two potentials that medically we would want folks to consider compression. But the goal is not to impede movement. So some of my patients would say, or I've heard in the past, well, if I'm wearing my compression, I don't want to walk. And we're like, wait, we got to talk about that, because that's a problem. So there are patients out there of mine where I have even said, go ahead, go for your, if you're not going to walk because you're wearing your compression, then we've got a problem. So when they go for their walk or they go for their exercise, if they are of that mindset that I do better when I'm not wearing that stuff because I just won't do it if I'm wearing it because it's too uncomfortable, you got to let it go, because movement is so important. So
I love that you said that. And I love also, this is our caveat. We say this every roundtable, but it bears repeating. What works for one may not work for everyone. There are no blanket solutions. I saw PGP that you wanted to jump in on this topic of compression.
Yes, I have a arm, like it's just like the little style where it's just the arms and across the back of the BioFlex with the massaging. I wear it mostly at night. Post-op, it was kind of I wasn't ready to be fully out of compression for the whole amount of time yet. So I felt like I needed something that felt lighter than like the medical grade post-op compression. When I first started wearing it, the massaging feature felt too much on like newly surgical arms. So I turned it inside out so that I could still wear it. And
So smart.
not do something, and then it wasn't rubbing like as rough against the skin. Now I can wear it the right way and it massages, and I do have a print on my arms from it. I don't have it in the leggings. I've only done it in the arms because my leggings, I layer the flat knit knee highs and then the circular knit leggings for lipedema. But I have used it on the arms. I just wanted to give that heads up that sometimes if you have really sensitive skin or you've freshly post-op, it might be a bit too much with like this, the way the nerves are reconnecting and everything, that it might make you a little edgy.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point. There are some patients that I've come across that don't like it at all. It's just it's too much stimulus to their nervous system, because it's a little bit different than a softer garment that lays against skin.
Yeah, I also found making sure you're lotioned real good first, or when you take it off, you'll have this like sea of dry skin flakes that it kind of just massages off of you. Because post-op, your skin's really dry and you just get like really kind of flaky. So I like to like make sure I lotion up real good and then get it into place. And for me, it was too long a little bit in the sleeve, so I just cut a thumb hole out and have it come up to my fingers.
Okay, and you know what's so funny that you said that and you tried that is that I have a patient where she needs to have full-on hand coverage, and she's not able to wear a gauntlet with anything because it's a bad, that there's just some patients that need the full sleeve, and she's done just that as well. She's cut a hole, she pulls it up over top, so she's got her gauntlet all in one, because to my knowledge, unless anyone on this call has come across a company that actually has it where it's an all-in-one with gauntlet, but the material doesn't seem to fray. Did you notice it fraying much for you?
No, not at all. And then Lipoelastic just actually released a new arm garment that has the thumb hole.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good
It's
stuff.
always good to know. I mean, it's constantly changing and updating. That's the exciting thing. Yeah.
I just interviewed Dr. Karen Herbst today, and we were talking, I said, what is your biggest success? And she was talking about a patient, of course, who had a wonderful experience. I said, but what about the standard of care? And she said, you know what? We're already talking about updating it. It's not a static document. And here's what gives hope to the lipedema community. we're not stopping. We're not resting on whatever laurels have been created. There has been so much information and involvement and engagement from the lipedema community this Lipedema Awareness Month more than ever. I applaud all of you out there putting out content and creating posts and getting the word out. It's amazing. And it's amazing to have leaders like you, Dr. Herbst, Linda Ann Kahn, so many others that are really making a difference. Jenny, I want to also mention what you said, which is the only good compression is the compression you use. And that is why Lympha Press started these roundtables in the very beginning, because we knew we had a product that people could use because it was easy to use. It wasn't going to be a burden. People can do their compression when they're out and about, their static compression, but then they can use their pneumatic compression therapy in the comfort of their home, maintaining the progress that they achieved in therapy. And many of our panelists, many of the people out there that are joining and logging in tonight, use the Lympha Press. If you want to know about it, connect. marketing@lymphapress.com. I'll put that in the chat. I want to mention Lynette 10 Brumuller said, Paula diagnosed me before I left Nashville, and for that I will be forever grateful. So that's how you make a difference in people's lives. People were also posting in chat what they loved best, their favorite roundtable memory. And one that I heard more than once was Angelique, you singing. So isn't that so special? Now, PGP mentioned lotioning up. And after our show last month, you mentioned that there is a Lippy Butterfly concoction that you created.
You're muted.
There we go. Yes, we were talking about self-care, and like that's huge in our community. But we also can't just put everything on our skin. So in trying to get back to self-care and all that type of stuff, I made my own body scrub for in the shower that was going to help alleviate a little bit of inflammation. And I have to say that after using it a couple of times, like I really did feel like I had immediate relief. Like I'm not talking about long-term relief, but like I had like that little bit of cooling sensation, that little moment of like not feeling as heavy and not experiencing like intense pain for just a little while. So I like it. I'm still working on it and stuff, but I really am interested in finding many different ways to reduce our inflammation, whether it's external on our skin, where we take in what we do, our habits and all of that type of stuff. So even our body scrub can be a little bit anti-inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that it helped you to massage the tissue a little bit more, a little bit longer when you were using the body scrub?
Massage is actually one of my main therapies that I do. I do massage 5 days out of the week, and it's like a more intense massage. I think that some women would probably experience a lot of bruising and tenderness from what I do, but I had a lot of fibrotic tissue to start with. So something heavier was okay for me. Like it didn't hurt as bad as it would on someone else. But what I did notice with the scrub was like, as I massaged it, that first layer underneath the skin felt a little bit more movable in those areas that are hard, fibrotic, as you were talking about. I was able to kind of move that top layer of skin a little bit better as I was massaging in that scrub.
I think that's awesome. You found a technique to help mobilize your tissue better. I mean, in the clinic, we're constantly trying to test out or use different devices to do just that, make it a little easier on the hands, but get a little bit more into the skin or the dermis, or to pull it a little bit with some of the techniques. So what you're bringing up is a great idea of a product in general with scrubs, or maybe there's something more special about this particular scrub that kind of helps a person make contact with their skin as they mobilize it. That's awesome. Thank you for that tip.
So we always learn something at the roundtables, and necessity is the mother of invention, right? We have some questions that have come in. Beth Rylersdam is out there. Curvy girl Beth, hello. We're so glad you're with us tonight. She asks, what does it mean if you do swell in compression? Any thoughts on that,
Oh.
Paula?
Yes, and then maybe if Beth wants to follow it up, she can. So if you're going to swell in the compression, that means just to us clinically means the compression is not sufficient to meet the demands to help your body to keep the fluid going. If we're probably talking about feet and ankles or the lower legs, because sadly that's the greatest gravitational pull. It's got the most amount of work as we're up and moving around. And a lot of us, our patients and me in particular, might not even think about sitting down. Doesn't seem like, well, I'm not standing on my feet, but there's still that gravitational pull. Now there's actually a bend at our knee and at the front of our hip. And some people are more sensitive to those bends in the joints to reduce lymphatic flow too. So, but the feet are down. And so oftentimes the only time the feet are really up and the ankles are up is when we lay down completely flat. Or if some folks even can, elevate during the middle of the day with a recliner chair, or actually put their feet up. But clinically or in general, functionally, we don't really want to be. I don't want to be encouraging people to be sitting with their feet up all day, because we want to move and we want to have quality of life and we want to function. And so that's where compression is the awesome thing to take care of us. And so when people are noticing, oh, I still swell, Paula, by the end of the day, what we're looking at for them is what's the compression that's being used, and we'd be looking at all different options. And some of it has to do with the containment too. So we've been talking a lot about the amount of or we've been talking about the gradient of pressure, like 20, 30, 30 to 40, that kind of stuff, for millimeters of mercury. But it also is the certain types of fabrics, and oftentimes flat knit is a much stronger hold to the garments too. So we'd be exploring it. There's a whole host though of things, and I could go on, but I might be just grappling at different pieces. That's the general gist behind it, is that the compression is not working.
So we've got a bunch more questions coming in. I'm going to do them rapid fire, but first a trivia question. Who wasn't part of the original roundtable panel? Anybody in our audience remember? Because, of course, Cheryl Skolage was one of our founding panelists, and she has been aptly helped by Jenny Bogine, who stepped in. Gosh, it's been maybe a year now. You're muted, Jenny, but yeah. But the one missing, look, she's smiling because she knows I'm talking about her. The Lippy Butterfly was not one of the original panelists. But as soon as I interviewed her, I went back to everybody else and I said, I met this amazing woman. Can we add her to the panel? And we're so glad that you did. Angelique, what has been being a part of this panel meant to you?
Man, it's not necessarily just the panel, it's the entire community. Like, I think that I started calling you guys my Lippy besties a couple of months ago. So like us together, like I feel like this has been cathartic in having a community of women that like understood my body, what I'm going through and all that type of stuff. But we've actually gone through some challenges together, including the loss of my mother. And I know a lot of us have lost people that are really dear to us in our families. So it became family. It honestly became my family. And I don't know if I would have been able to make it through some of these challenges if it had not been for the Lipedema Roundtable and the women who are here, the audience, and getting to see you guys in person now twice is probably the highlight of my life at this point, because, you know, having gone through this situation my entire life, feeling alone, especially through my 30s, I needed you guys. So it's an honor to be on the panel, but it is way more an honor to actually know you guys.
Yeah, well, we needed you too. Without you,
And
we
I met
weren't-
my boo. If it hadn't been for you guys.
Oh, you know, for those of you who are new to the roundtable, the Lippy Butterfly met her boo, Michael, through the FDRS conference, and we noticed how he was assisting her And we realized that there was way more than assistance going on there. And the rest, as they say, is history. We love that. We love the smile he puts on your face, which is wonderful. Okay, back to questions. James Coleman, it's so wonderful to have you out there. Has a question. He uses the Lympha Press sleeves, but wants to know, has anyone heard of the belt well compression wrap for people that deal with extra fluid in their legs? Belt well compression wrap?
I do not.
We got
Have to
nothing,
look
but
at it.
maybe if you tune in next month, we'll have something by then. We don't know all the answers and we don't mind. Oh, but wait, go ahead, PGP, you got something?
They have been popping up in Facebook ads like crazy for me. And I don't know if it's just one of those Facebook companies that when you pay, you never see the product,
Ooh,
or if it's
I'm
legit.
still waiting for my fake lashes to come in from China. What is up with that, everyone?
My advice would be see the measurements because they tend to not be as big as needed. And to always pay for something like that through PayPal, because PayPal will help you get your reimbursement if it's not legit. But I don't know if they are or not. I've just been seeing them nonstop in Facebook ads lately.
And I do see in chat that there's nothing that's really a consensus going on there. So, and we don't necessarily make recommendations here, but we appreciate the question very much. It's something that's happening in the community. I guess everybody's seeing the ads. Stephanie Aguilar wants to know, does anyone experience heat in their limbs? Raise your hand if you experience heat in your limbs. So what's up with that? And we're getting a lot of, oh my God, yeses and always and heat and itching and yes and yes and yes in chat. Paula?
Well, I'd love to hear more. Are there certain moments or times for anyone on the panel, the person who had written in,
Yeah,
that you want to explain, like the times or the moments when you notice the heat more?
sure. Go ahead, Kara.
So I have been hot my whole entire life. They used to call me Furnace and used to fight over who sat like near me in the cold basement when we would watch movies, because my arms and legs just like pushed out heat. And it is not as much since I've had surgery.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But otherwise for you, you would kind of just notice it as an all the time. Were there
I
times
was
where it was
constantly
than normal?
hot. Yeah, constantly hot. I would go out without like a winter coat because I was like miserable wearing it. My AC is like 65 right now. Like my house is an igloo year round.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I find that when I sleep, I have to pull all the blankets off my feet because my feet get very hot. But then at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, they're frozen, but they get painfully hot and wake me up. So,
Okay. Yeah. So you're noticing it then on a regular basis, just evening time when you're
particularly,
sleeping.
that's the worst for me.
Anybody else want to weigh in on this heat in the limbs subject?
I mean, I
Summer.
feel I'm active that I get that. I mean, I don't know post-op because it's so hot here now, but prior and all these years, if I was active at all, it's almost like my core would heat up or my circulation, and then my thighs would just keep going and get hotter and hotter and hotter, and wherever my hot spots were, which are inside my knees and then and the back of my arms, and they would stay hot, hot, hot. So then I have, like Jen, the whole Jenny, like the whole, like, pull them off, put them on. I'm like, okay, I'm roasting, gotta freeze, and I'm like, there's no happy medium.
Yep, there isn't.
Wow. And Patty, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm the same. It felt like hot flashes, before menopause.
Patty, when
So-
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, but you're more important.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. People, they hear me talk every month. You're our special guest. Go for it.
I'm constantly learning, and I'm just trying to put all the different data together. So from a data, I don't have anything to answer with the heat. I think there's always going to be something that we'll continue to need to learn more. I think AI actually will probably help us as we have more machine learning and can get more information from people, because part of me wonders about where, when we have our hormonal changes, it gets very complicated with that heat. Because the other piece is on the flip side, and I've kind of noticed this chat is popping up as well, is that what's in the literature is actually the tissue, especially more in the lobules, is colder to touch. So there's the hypothermia. And so I want to keep this with just an open hand. I think this is wonderful to discuss. I don't have any medical data to be able to share specifically though on heat. Other than if there's association with swelling, then that can also be something where heat and swelling can also kind of. Sorry, my car just turned off, and I don't know if you guys lost me
No problem.
No, we're still here.
So I'm gonna fix that while you guys continue to chat here.
And I want to address Judith McCartney is a new viewer. Let's all say hi to Judith McCartney. Hey, Jude. We're so glad you're here. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that because Angelique should be the one singing, not me. She asks, as a new viewer, do you record previous panels that I could view? What a great question. Yes, of course, we record every single one of them. They live on the Lympha Press website, lymphapress.com. If you subscribe to Lympha Press on YouTube, there is the Lipedema channel, which now has, almost 1,200 subscribers. As soon as it posts, you will be alerted that it is there. You can watch the archive. We've got 36 episodes of the Lipedema Patient Roundtable in our archive. And Judith, we hope that you'll join us in the future as well, because it's always a really special time of the month. Okay, Stephanie Aguilar also asks, she has tingling with, it's not a question. She says she has tingling with heat and burning. And she's had, tingling. Tingling is a little bit different than heat. Anybody have tingling?
Yeah.
I see a lot of nods. Okay, gotcha. Do we have to wear compression to sleep? Francine Schwartz says, I usually wear mine 23/7, especially post-op, but some nights they drive me crazy.
I'm wondering if Francine's asking specifically in regards to post-surgery. If it is, Francine, give us a yes in chat. I'm just going to carry on with that first assumption that it's so ideal to wear your compression for as long as you can, 24/7 after surgery, because the goal there is to try to help to support getting that fluid out, and also the skin is trying to tighten up as well. And so that's where, following with your surgeon's recommendations, but the generic is somewhere between 3 to 6 months. But then if I can flip really quickly, is that the other thing about compression use and whether it needs to be day and night and all that, it really goes back to the individual on a couple of accounts. I'm going to try to hit the big points. The one is what your needs are to contain your swelling. The other is some people are using compression, believe it or not, for their comfort, like with exercise. If the tissue is just a little bit too soft and jiggly and the jumping and the movement is less comfortable without compression, but more comfortable with compression, that's awesome to kind of keep everything kind of held closer together. So it's kind of comfort. Though some may be saying, wait a second, it hurts to put compression on because of painful nodules and all that. So hold that with an open hand if you don't find compression to be comfortable. And then it's really what your body needs. And if there's moments in time where you mentally can't do it anymore, or you've got an event and you don't want to wear that with your garment, don't wear it. This is a journey for life, and it's not an everyday, and you can give yourself breaks as you really need it.
Giving yourself breaks. We believe in that. Patty Cornute, weigh in on this.
Yeah, not all compression is meant to be slept in either. Some of it can be very dangerous to sleep in. It can get a tourniquet effect. So you really have to be careful with what you're sleeping in.
Very good.
Good point.
I was going to say something really sassy, like, and also who you're sleeping with, but I will just, this is a family program. And so we will just move right on. Hiba Hamadi, we love you. You're out there. We met you at FDRS, and we're so glad you're a part of the Roundtable family. She asks, what are your thoughts on using Graston technique and cupping for mobilizing tissue? We are really putting you in the hot seat tonight, Paula, but we're so glad you're in it.
No, I love it. Those techniques are fantastic. It kind of gets back to when we were talking earlier here on the program. Some people benefit greatly by breaking down, not in a bad way, the skin, but like working the tissue somehow. And so Graston techniques are good. Those are all positive pressure using devices to also help with that. And if the tissue is hard and firm, it softens it up. But some people can't tolerate that, or whenever we're using different techniques, we just try to go to a patient's, stay within your tolerance. We're not looking for tears and discomfort. Some will say, no, wait, that's a good pain kind of pain because it feels good hurt. It's a good hurt. That's the other thing that they'll say. That's okay. But if it's something that's really tender and it hurts, go at it soft and slowly. It's respecting the tissue. And as you're kind of still there, as if you've got a therapist working on you, as they keep progressing in that space in a single session or over multiple sessions, it'll change. Kinesio tape's another good one for some people to put that on over top the tissue. Yeah. So do you guys on the panel have any experiences with using that?
I actually was using it. I did it for about 2 months off and on, and I now kind of just use it when I'm traveling. It seems to help, when I'm flying or in the car for a long time, because it takes a long time to do my legs. I'm late stage lipolipedema. It takes a long time to put that stuff on. So.
And
It's another neat tool in the toolbox. So yeah, great idea.
Yeah. And Angelique, you're muted, but I did see you nodding. Did you want to add anything about kinesio tape?
Oh no, I use kinesio tape as well, but when I can afford it, because kinesio tape is expensive when you're using large amounts on huge thighs. But I liked it. It really did, especially in my fibrotic areas. It did wonders for helping break up that first little layer right underneath the skin and helping to mobilize what was there. And then other massages could be done. Vibration was a little bit more effective once that first little bit of hardening was loosened up a little bit.
Okay. So on social this month, we were talking about ripped jeans, and it wasn't really a fashion statement. PGP, fill us in.
So I mentioned it. I shared a meme in one of my stories that had the inner thighs of a thick chick's jeans where they're rubbed raw. And I had said that since wearing compression under my jeans, my jeans don't rip in the thighs anymore. And so I said it was kind of one of the perks because I'm not going through pairs of jeans every couple months because the thighs have been rubbed raw. But then it got me thinking, why aren't my compression rubbing raw in the thighs? It was just kind of weird that when I walk with jeans, the jeans rubbed raw, but the compression doesn't. But yeah, so it was just a post that the compression has saved me, at least in the cost of jeans. So they're earning a little bit of their money back.
There you go.
Awesome. I love that.
Right? Jenny, you had said that resonated with you as well?
Yeah, it was kind of like an aha moment because I hadn't thought about it, but it's like, oh my God, since I've started wearing compression, you're right. I haven't worn out my jeans in the thighs. It was like amazing. And all I can think of is it's because the compression I've got on underneath is holding things in a little more. So as much as it's the rubbing back and forth, it's also the pressure of the skin on the jeans, I'm thinking. But it's like, you got to take the pot of gold when you can with this stuff. Pardon me, I was going to say something bad. Because gosh, there's, this is so many things that are kind of ugly, but this is like save some money.
Silver lining. Okay. So let's send some love to our friend Sheila Chamberlain. She is out there. She posted a private message. She's feeling overwhelmed by all of this, wants to get help. She lives in Massachusetts. She also asked this question: if your individualized compression doesn't fit well, but You can wear it for several hours. Should you wear it? She's been poorly fitted by a new fitter and she's very frustrated. Okay, we're beaming love to you, Sheila.
Yeah.
Everybody in this group has experienced the frustration of trying to get help, not knowing where to turn, and feeling overwhelmed. Let's first deal with that individualized compression fitting well question. And then I'd like to go around the table with words of encouragement to help Sheila not feel so overwhelmed. So compression first. Paula, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm gathering from what I just heard that it feels good and comfortable enough to continue to wear for a few hours. If the answer to that is yes, then it's okay. But if it's not, we don't want people wearing compression that's not comfortable and it's not fitting well. And it would be going back to the fitter and working with the fitter for that, if that's possible. That's really the goal. And I'm hoping that that's an open option for you, is to go back to the fitter and kind of keep working with it. Also the therapist, if hopefully maybe you're working with a lymphatic therapist, that would be another helpful piece.
Excellent. So Jenny, Massachusetts, how far away is Sheila from you?
I am in Massachusetts. I was just thinking, boy, I'm glad to hear she's going to see Dr. Piazza. She's going to love him. But I actually use a company in Boston that's good. But I got to tell you, the first fitting that I had for my late stage lipolipedema cuffed legs, I've got the tree trunks. When they came in and they were fitted by my CLT, they didn't fit at all. So she actually contacted the company and they sent out their garment fitter. She came in, from like 2 or 3 hours away. And even the first time she measured me, they weren't a great fit. And so when you get the custom compression, they actually, could send them back and remake them till they worked. And the third time was the charm for me. So I just asked Sheila if she's in the Lipedema Strong in New England Facebook group, because that's a good group that can give her a lot of guidance and support on some of that stuff. And there are not many CLTs in Massachusetts, but that group also knows where they are. So
good.
So
Great
hopefully,
advice.
yeah.
This roundtable was also started to address not just, compression, vibration plates, pneumatic compression, Lympha Press, blah, 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 diet, exercise, but also the psychosocial impacts of this condition, overwhelm being one of them. So I do want us to take a moment and talk to overwhelm and encourage anybody who's feeling it, because some of us even at the round table have been feeling it lately too. So Susie, you always are a wonderful jolt of inspiration for us. Give us a jolt.
I mean, I think that the first thing to do is I know it's overwhelming, but just take it one thing at a time, but also in finding your community. Like, I loved what Jenny said, but especially up there in your area, when you have a community with you, you start finding out that you're not alone, that the things that seem so overwhelming are being tackled by this woman over here and this person over there. And you're like, and it gives you hope. And then step by step, you make advances to improve, and you're going to do great. This is a beautiful community and we're so happy to have you.
Well said. And Susie, we've watched your own journey, not just with lipedema, but as an entrepreneur, and we all hit walls.
Yeah.
We all hit those potholes and we say, can I go on? And the answer is yes. You can, if you link arms with people who care, and we all care, genuinely care. Overwhelm. How do you deal with overwhelm, PGP?
It's probably not the best answer. A lot of times I just shut down and I go take a nap. Sometimes I just need to reset and turn off my mind from everything. When I do it, I try to prop my legs up with a bunch of pillows so I'm at least elevating and can kind of justify it. But yeah, sometimes I just need that reset away from everything and everybody so that I don't let out the wrath of the redhead. But yeah, it's overwhelming, but pick your favorite version or your favorite thing to do for the self-care maintenance, and at least do that daily, because then you'll feel like you're doing something and you won't feel guilty for not doing it all, because you're at least getting done the thing you enjoy the most. And so even if you just dry brush like 10,000 times in one day because it feels good to you, you're doing something, versus like, well, I did nothing again today. So it's better to at least pick what you enjoy until you get like the energy to add more to that.
There's some excellent, thank you so much. And PGP, I'm so glad that we do not BS at this roundtable. Like, the truth is, sometimes all you can do is take a nap. And if that's what you feel led to do, that is good and right, and that's enough. Some chatters were saying, it's actually overwhelming this month because there's so much going on for Lipedema Awareness Month and so much information out there. And the thing is, when it's an obligation, it's a burden. When you feel led and drawn to something, that's when you should connect with it. And everything else, if it's meant for you, it'll come back around and you will get what you need. Patty, I was looking at the stats. Our very first show, we were talking about how you had 6,200 followers for Lipedema Fitness. And I'm sure you have had moments of overwhelm, but you didn't stop, and you have grown and grown and grown. So many of the people in our audience are eternally grateful for your influence and how you've led the way, inspiring them. How do you deal with overwhelm, and what would you say to our audience tonight?
Wow. For me, it's interesting. I've kind of learned something about myself. I'm in the middle of taking a fascial fitness course, an 8-week serious certification course. I'm old and I haven't been in school in a really long time. So mentally it was like, I don't know if this is a good fit. I don't know if this is going to work. And I kind of got like mixed signals from the instructor the first day that, fascia fitness is for healthy young bodies. And I was like, wait a minute, this just doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. And I'm exhausted from trying to catch up on all the reading. And I went into this, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take that next class and I'm going to see if I feel the same. And the next class happened to be the author of the book that we used for the class. And it was so amazing, because I asked questions about lipedema and his whole face just lit up, and he knew what lipedema was. And he was telling the other people in the class how this is a great opportunity and to talk to me about lipedema and what, like, the modifications I have to come up with and the training that I do, because they were going to run into patients not only just with lipedema, but with chronic pain. And it was amazing. Like, it was worth the investment of the class. It was worth everything that I had done just for that one class. And I had reached out to my community, to the people in my group. And after that first class, and I'm like, I don't think this is good. I don't think I'm able to do this. And they're like, hold on, you can do it. And just the few comments that kind of rung in my ears helped me to say, I'm going to do this. And then after, when I went back, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are awesome. I'm so thankful because I did. And I think that's what's really important, is to realize I research so that I don't focus on my own symptoms, if that makes sense. Like, I keep my mind busy and I go down the rabbit hole of one thing after the next, and I just keep going, because I find if I stay engaged in that way, I don't have time to think about stage 3 lipolymphedema. My body is getting a little bit more after menopause. And, for me, that's what works for me.
I love that story too, because you kept going and then boom, breakthrough.
Yeah.
And you just never know out there when your breakthrough is coming. There is this movie I absolutely love. It's called Joy. And it's about the woman who created these household products. And she was trying to sell them on QVC back in the day. And she went broke a million times. And she looked like it was all over for her. And then there was this one phrase in the movie, and it was Jennifer Lawrence who's in the movie, and I just love her. And the phrase in the movie was, Little did she know that she would go on to be the biggest selling entrepreneur in the history of blank, blank, blank. And I clawed onto that line because you do not know when your breakthrough is coming. But let me tell you what, don't give up. It's coming. I'm
Mhm.
preaching to myself tonight too. Speaking of preaching, Angelique, do you have a word of inspiration for us?
I mean, it is overwhelming. All of this is overwhelming. Living the life of lipedema is overwhelming. The information to take in, all of the different therapies that you could use, the different doctors, being upset at doctors, all of it is overwhelming. We have to grant ourselves grace. Like literally, there's no way that we can get through this without granting ourselves at least a little bit of grace. Like, there's no way that you're going to be able to do all of the therapies every day. If you're not able to get in your compression, like we said, if you can get in a couple of hours that are good, grant yourself grace for the other hours. You cannot beat yourself up through this journey and expect to come out with any piece of you. I went through that and literally lost all of me, like who I was, what I enjoyed doing, what actually put a spark in my life. If you get overwhelmed in the what I can't do and what I need to do, you're going to be lost. Grant yourself enough grace, even just enough grace to get through this hour, this day, this minute, because like the grace for this entire day, it might be too much. Something might happen in the next hour. You're going to have to grant yourself grace there again. Grant yourself all the grace that you need in order to keep going.
I just let that one in. I hope all of you did that as well. I loved in the chat, Susie, you put all or something, something, just some things. And that's Patty, that's your catchphrase. We are so running out of time. I do want to get to this one question from an anonymous attendee. What can be done to actually get lipedema taught in the universities teaching our future medical professionals?
Oh, that's a great
Any
question.
idea? It's a great question.
It is.
If we knew the answer.
I think it's slowly happening. I mean, talk about overwhelming, going to medical school and all of that, and there's so much that they're learning, right? I've learned by being in the medical institute now for a long time, because I pretty much worked at a lot of universities, is that what's happening now is the physicians are becoming more aware, and hold that again also with an open hand, because it's going to take a long time, right, to infiltrate the every doctor that's happening. But there's more and more. Even Patty mentioned about the fascial master who was coming to do the class and knew about lipedema. That's awesome. I'm noticing it a little bit more and more. So what I've gathered from the physician side is that it needs to come from physicians, and there's becoming more and more of like Dr. Herbst. It'll take a lot to become like Dr. Herbst, and Dr. Dean and all of those other wonderful physicians out there that have been doing a lot with lipedema over the many years. But as it becomes more, then when the physicians that are of expertise can feel comfortable in doing the training in every medical school, I think then it just becomes, it just mushrooms. So I'm really hopeful in the next decade. Now that still feels like, gosh, that's so far away. But, in reality, a lot of this stuff, a lot's changed in the last 5 to 10 years, even looking at the literature for lipedema and it becoming more primary. So I actually think it's quite exciting. And it's hard for me sometimes to be patient, but I feel like I've been seeing that continue to happen, even with the NIH, which is our national institute that provides money for grant funding here. The NIH provided one of my colleagues the first lipedema related grant, and I think it was 2 years ago that she was awarded that, and the NIH is recognizing lipedema. I think that's wonderful.
It's
That's
huge. Yeah, fantastic and well said. Paula, this was your first roundtable. What did you think?
Yes. Oh, I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys for letting me be here. Everything that I was hearing and seeing as the chat pops up, thinking what an awesome opportunity for people to connect. You know, just the simple things too. If someone was on this call, like myself, that didn't realize about the gene wear and where we can kind of, you know, wearing it down, and then with compression and all of us just talking about different things, I feel like it is extraordinarily useful for everybody living with and without lipedema, treating it or not treating it. It's just extremely beneficial. So thank you for letting me join.
Oh,
And I
well,
look
we already have people saying,
back
can
to
you
Joel.
come back and visit us? You have an open invitation. You know, I want to personally thank Lympha Press for having the vision for this and supporting it for 3 years. You know, it's one thing to say, you know, we care about patients, but they literally said, do it. They gave me full free reign to do this. And for 3 years, we've been helping community. And then there's so many uplifters out there. We know we're not the only game in town. We're glad we're part of it. We're glad we're the one bright spot in your month. But you've got a Sluter out there, and Casey Grosvenor and Nita Cluis and Beth Reilersdam and so many people out there. There's always a way to connect. We just encourage you to do it. Connect, get the help you need, get the encouragement you need. There's no shame in saying, I'm having a really bad day. I could use some support. We are all walking each other home. And it's a privilege to walk with all of you every month. So with that, love, we will see you next month at the Lipedema Patient Roundtable. Great night, everyone.